Hello everybody, this is Japhet from the Arc of Trading. Welcome back to another episode of the Daily Top 10, where we analyze the trending stocks objectively and see where price action takes us. This is all purely technical analysis, and before we start, I just want to remind you to check out the description below to see my other socials. You know where to find me, and you can click those links. And before we go through our trending stocks, let's look at our index first. So let's look at PSEI, what it did today. Today we had a positive movement at 41 points. We're up 41 points or 0.61%. It essentially closed at 6,800 with a move on the upside, touching this resistance zone, support turned resistance zone that we have. And I guess I could say, since we saw a massive move on the upside here for the last couple of days, we could slightly move this up here. So now we still have a symmetrical triangle, but now at least we see where the bottoms are for this one. So it definitely wants to touch this downtrend again and see how it reacts from there. Multiple scenarios: it could break above, or it could potentially get rejected right here before breaking above, or before holding this resistance and potentially retesting this downtrend. But I'm hoping for all the positive moves for our index. So with our first one, we have Dito, which closed at negative 25%. Wow. So minus 3 pesos for today, piercing another support level at 10.9. The 10 peso to 10.9 peso levels was pierced, and we could be looking at a bounce somewhere in this area instead. Wow, that's a massive move on the downside. So it's not slowing down just yet. Everyone is selling their positions, so it could potentially, retest this. What is this now? 7.6 levels. Wow. So another, how many percent is that? How many percent is that? That's a 15% move. So if it does that, it could easily do it again. If it does, another 20% move like that, the 7 peso level would be touched super easily. And wow, the 7.6 levels where we broke out from before, it might want to touch it, because we are still heavily on the bearish bias right here, with most of our traders selling off their positions. So kind of feels bad for Dito piercing another support level, and it did not even bounce enough. But yeah, we had a low of 8.5. Wow, opening at 11.38. So they really want to get rid of all their position on this one for now, after a year of just rallying since last May from about 2 peso, 1 peso level. Wow. So it really does want to retrace all of these key levels once again. So yeah, definitely I'm watching the 7.6 as a new support zone for Dito. So if it doesn't hold, that's another one, because this broke this resistance right here. It broke, and then support zone broke. We're looking at another resistance zone right here at 7.6. And let's move on to our next one with ACEN, which closed at 6.82 or positive 4% today. So this one had a halt, I think, at the beginning of the day for an hour. So I think this is why it rallied, but it could merely be just a retest of this downtrend line that we have, and there's still a resistance at 6.9. So we shall see what it does. For me, it might still want to, retouch this level at 6.19 or 6.2. And it could still get rejected by this downtrend line, seeing how the market is overall for the Philippine market. So yeah, the bias could still be down. The bears could still be on top of the bulls. So we shall see what happens over the next few days, but definitely still holding up this downtrend line that we have drawn, and this range of 6.92 is still acting as a resistance. So next stop that we're watching is the 6.2 levels for ACEN and for PHA. Wow, I was in watching the market a lot today, but yeah, I think it's time to clear up some some of our notes here. But yeah, we saw negative 18%, closing in at 1.95 with a low of 1.91. That's a really far opening at 2.42. So it pierced another level of support right here at 2.2. We were hoping that it would bounce there, as it did here. The doji candle was there yesterday, and it did decide to break down instead of bouncing or maintaining this level of support. So now we could be looking at 1.65 levels right now to be touched. Yeah, so we could be seeing a retouch or a retest of the 1.65 levels for now, because our bias, the market's bias is still on the bearish side. So we could still be seeing a push on the downside, although this is overextended for a downtrend. Look how overextended that is, but the pressure is still on the bears. So we might be seeing like a retrace here before crashing back down. So yeah, we could be retesting this downtrend, creating a lower high, because we haven't seen a lower high just yet. So our resistance is still there, still intact at 2.2 now, and we should be seeing what it does over the next few days. But that's it for APHA. The bears are still in control right now, breaking multiple support levels in the last week or so. As they say, fear moves faster than hope. So the upward movement is definitely way slower than the downward movement, because everyone just want to protect their gains and their capital. So we shall see it push a little bit more on the downside, but we could be looking at 1.65 levels to hold. Hopefully people find value there and people are willing to buy on that area. So we shall see. But for APL, we saw another 20% move. Wow, every stock right now is just breaking support levels. We could be seeing this touch this resistance level right here at 13.29. That's another level I'm looking at for it to bounce, because there's just this massive move overextended on the downside. So we should be seeing a possible move and retest of of this downtrend line. But for now, we close at 0.1650 or negative 21% for today. That's a huge blow on it, and it's a huge hit. Definitely breaking through our support right here. Doji candle yesterday and decided to break down today. So next area I'm watching is this resistance right here before it did that massive move. So hopefully it settles at around 13 to 0.13 or 0.15, essentially 0.14. Yeah, 0.14 to 0.15 levels right here. But the bears are taking over, so could be a reversal right now for every stock. And now with let's move to our next stock with another big move on the downside as well. All those that had a doji candle yesterday decided to finally break down today, and it just touched our key level right here at 4.58. There was a level right there, 4.58, and it did bounce a little bit from there, but the pressure is still on the bears. The bears are still in control for this one, and maybe we would see a little bounce right here and a retest before breaking down. Who knows? But for now, this might be overextended as well, and then we should be seeing some lower highs first for it to move naturally, because this can't just sell off really fast unless that's all it wants to do. But for now, it definitely bearish bias. Bears are taking over for now, and definitely overextended from this downtrend line. So it's like a flipped uptrend where the stocks are overextended and should find some retracement or a pullback from the downtrend. So hopefully, it creates a solid base somewhere, and hopefully things turn for the better soon, because the market PSEI has just been on that range. It's also still deciding where it wants to go, but wow, the bull run has, I think, ended, I guess, formally. Maybe, yeah. But even with whatever line you draw, it just broke it. So now we are potentially on a reversal, on a downtrend now, mainly. And yeah, this closed at 4.69 or negative 6%. And let's move to our next one with Tbgi, which I think also saw a massive move. Okay, so we did have our gap filled. So now our daily time frame support, it's still holding up. It is still holding up. So this one at 0.4540 is still holding up, but we do have a resistance right here. It's a range that we're looking at, and yeah, the resistance is at 53.80. So 53.50, I guess, to round it off. But yes, that's our range right now. It got rejected again on the upside, and this could potentially just break down over the next few days. But for now, it's on that support level that we have drawn since we started analyzing Tbgi. So up next, we see another stock that broke down with a negative 15%, closing in at 0.84 right here for basic energy. Our support level now definitely a resistance, and we could definitely see it retrace down to the 0.7 levels. And if that doesn't hold up, there is still a gap right here that it needs to fill. So the 0.51 to 0.7 level is definitely a gap that it wants to fill. So let me just take a note of that. Gap at, what did I say? 0.51 to 0.7 levels. So 0.51 to 0.7 levels. There is a gap right there that it could potentially fill as we continue to move on the downside. So it could push there on that gap level. Definitely a big move once again, because this did not hold up. The 1 peso range did not hold up, and now it's going to be acting as a resistance for now. So we shall see what it does. But yeah, candlestick movement wise, price action, it definitely wants to touch the 0.7 levels and potentially fill the gap at 0.5 to 0.7 levels. So we shall see what it does over the next few days, but be careful. Don't get into this just yet until it builds a level of support and slows down. So we have DAVIN. What is DAVIN doing? So it has maintained that 3.1 level of support. It kind of slowed down compared to the other stock that we have, but definitely still want to build a range right here before you could safely trade this one as it closes at 3.15 or negative 6%. So it's still here on the support level that we have drawn support from last September. So it kind of hit a wall there on the downside, but could still be bearish. Bearish bias on this one as it moved to the last one with Lodestar, negative 14%. Wow, closing in at 1.22 today. Every stock right now is just piercing through all of the support levels. So man, boy oh boy, we could be seeing this. We have a resistance right here that it hit through and a support level right there that we can look at. That's a really far move on the downside that it could potentially touch. So this is definitely a level that it could test. Let's just put it there at around 0.9 to 1 peso. So let's see, 0.9 to 0.9 to 1.0 peso. I mean, yeah, it's a level of support from the previous move on the upside where we saw a reaction right here. So it's definitely an interesting zone for people to watch, but right now we are seeing all kinds of breakage of these support levels, so we could be potentially seeing a move on the downside even more, and let's see what it does. But for now, close at this price point and definitely wants to touch the 1 peso level as it just broke the support level, so it's just starting its move on the downside. So we shall see what it does. This trend line definitely a resistance. This support now is definitely now as resistance as well. And if we go back to PSEI to recap, this is definitely a resistance as well that our market has to break, so that we can confirm that we could still be on the uptrend. But definitely all the true prices of stocks are just showing right now, and we are seeing which ones are overvalued and which ones are pushed by hype. So be careful out there as we see our index kind of bounce off, but most of our trending stocks are still down on the big down pretty big. So be careful out there. All of our hype stock are down, and we shall wait and see where the common ground is, where people find value for them. So just to end this, I just wanna remind you guys that you should stay patient, be disciplined, and strive to be consistent with your trading. Yeah, that's pretty much it for me for this episode, and I hope you picked something up. And if you did, don't forget to hit that thumbs up button. Helps us a lot with the YouTube algorithm, and I'll see you guys again tomorrow for the next one.